Well, hello everybody and welcome to Sebring International Raceway. Good to have your company, John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw in the IMSA broadcast booth, talking to the world live, free and in sound and vision on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. No subscription required here in the US or further afield. It's round 2 of the 2023 Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America. Second race of the weekend here at the 71st Annual Mobile One 12 Hours of Sebring. Race 1 was a lot of fun. Right from the start, we had a penalty for one of the drivers being out of line. The dark green car at the back of the grid was well out of position and had to come through. Then Michael Merrill lost a wheel and had to come into the pit lane. He did get back going again. The wheel decided to just hang around on the outside of turn 7 and watch all the action down there, which included Jake Pedersen hitting Stefan Radzinski and taking him out of the race. Matt Holcomb had a spin coming out of turn number 16, lost his front splitter. What did I tell you about turn 7? That was Laz de Torres and Efren Castro coming together at the front of the field. In the AM category, it was a tremendous win for the number 65 for the Noble car. Moise Oreski won in Pro-Am, and Riley Dickinson was in a class of his own at the front of the field. He demolished the rest of a quality pro field to take his first victory of the season, and it was perfect. Pole, fastest lap, and the win. That was outstanding from young Riley Dickinson, and he'll start on pole position again. Let's find out how everyone else lines up. Here's Jeremy Shaw with the grid set from the second fastest lap times in the single qualifying session. Jeremy.
Indeed, so John, or the fastest lap in the race earlier today, and only a few drivers did that, including the best. I think it was Thomas Merrill, who will start 14th today. Starting at the back then, Joe Still unable to make it this weekend. He had a fever, so he didn't make the start. The back of the grid, car number 72 is Philip Marcia. Alongside him, Tom Balamis in car number 19. Row 19, Grady Willingham in car number 21 and Michael Merritt in car number 63. Row 18, James McCann, or Jimmy McCann Jr. in car number 83 and Christian Cole in car number 27. Ahead of him is Jeffrey Myshak in car number 29 and Bob Mueller in car number 28. Connor Flynn will start number 95 car in the 32nd position alongside Stefan Radzinski in number 93. Matt Holcomb in car number 55 will start 30th alongside Mark Kawami in the number 43. He's the AM champion from last year. John Getz, also in the AM class, will start car number 57 in the 28th position alongside one of the pro drivers, Jake Pedersen, in car number 85. This morning's Pro-Am winner, Moise Uretsky, will start in the 26th position in car number 44. That's 6th fastest of the Pro-Am cars going into this afternoon's race. Alongside him, Chris Belomo in car number 68. Scott Noble, the Am winner this morning in car number 10, will start 24th alongside Alan Metney, last year's Pro-Am champion in car number 99. Jeff Mosing in car number 56 and Grant Torquay in number 81 will share row 11. Ahead of them, Marco Cironi in car number 82 and Travis Wiley in car number 77. Efren Castro is the best qualified of the Pro-Am cars in car number 65. He will start 18th alongside Sabra Cook in car number 37. Row 8, Michael McCann in car number 8 and Elias de la Torre in car number 4. Thomas Merrill in car number 47 and Sean Varwig in car number 2 will start on row 7. Ahead of them, Ryan Yardley in car number 78 and Alex Cedric in car number 98. Row 5, Dan Clark, number 64, and Thomas Neveu in car number 24. Row 4, Michael McCarthy in car number 7 and TJ Fisher in car number 58. Row 3, Will Martin finished second this morning. He'll start 6th this afternoon in car number 9 alongside Varian Choksey in car number 13. The second row grid, Jimmy Libre in car number 74, who got a penalty after this morning's race, dropping him well down the order. He will start 4th alongside Jason Hart in car number 20. And on the front row, Tom Sargent from Australia in car number 17. And the pole sitter once again is Riley Dickinson in car number 53.
Tom Sargent may be new to the championship, as are McElrea Racing, but he topped 2 of the practice session, the pre-season practice sessions here last week. He's not going to be a pushover. Riley Dickinson, we believe, has saved a set of brand new Michelin tyres from his allocation for this race. He brings them round very slowly, 20 rows side by side. What a sight in the evening sunshine. The green flag's in the air for race 2 of Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America, and immediately a great jump away on those brand new Michelins for Riley Dickinson. Here comes Sargent down the inside, but Dickinson is confident. He's very confident, and that confidence was not misplaced there. He takes the lead by a couple of cars lengths through turn 2, the kink, and into turn 3, 4 and 5. This has been a real action area. Difficult for everyone to get the power down. Right up in the air there from the JDX car, the black and gold machine up on the curb for Will Martin. Kelly Moss, McElrea, 2 MDKs, a right, JDX a 762, and then Kelly Moss racing again in the top 8, down towards the hairpin. Nice move down the inside. Tom Sargent and Jason Harf, Jimmy Lieber right in there as well. Very tight indeed as they go through. It's still Tom Sargent in the blue and white car holding on to second position, but he feels the pressure, goes defensive into turn 10, and that's good news for Jimmy Lieber in 4th position in the red, white and black car. 3 across the track going through turn 10, and this is not a Mazda race, this is a Porsche race. They're a bit bigger and a bit wider and a bit more leery and hairy than the Mazdas. My goodness, how did that come out? We clearly just turned off the laws of physics there for a moment. Quite extraordinary stuff as Dickinson is pulling away at the head of the field. Yeah,
taking advantage of those fresh Michelin tyres, and there's all sorts of battling farther down the order, but Riley Dickinson is going to try and make his escape here. He was 3/4 of a second clear through the first sector, and he's going to try and extend that lead in the early stages and then hang on to it. But we saw this morning some tremendous battling all the way down this 40-car field.
So 38 minutes to go. Dickinson, Sargent, Hart, Lieber, Chotsky, Will Martin, TJ Fisher. That's how they went across the line. How will that change this time around? Dickinson already has pulled out a seconds gap. Standard operational procedure that the start is under review. Too wide again, coming into turn 1. And through everyone, I'm just waiting. Yes, everyone's gone through again. Remember, 3 different categories here. Marco Cironi is in 17th, the best of the Pro-Am runners. And in Am, excuse me, is the number 10. And that is Scott Noble, was on pole position, won the first race.
Yeah, so a great start from Marco Cironi. They made up 3 positions on that first lap. Not so good for Efren Castro, the Pro-Am pole sitter. Started 18th, he comes across in 20th, so he lost 2 positions. Marco Cironi gained 3 and has a couple of pro cars in between himself and Efren Castro. Spoke to Efren after that first race. He was I mean, he's been racing in this series now for a couple of years, and he won the Pro-Am class back in 2021, narrowly lost it last year, but he was saying how intense this morning's race was, particularly with how close the field is in the middle part of this huge field of 40 cars. It's really intense racing, and he said it's mentally very, very taxing.
I'm not surprised, because there was nary quiet moments. Let's be blunt about that. It's mentally taxing standing in the booth here, watching it go around. I have no clue how the guys are doing what they're doing out on the circuit. Must need eyes in the back of your head, the back, the front and the side of your head, to be quite honest here. And these are quick cars, Jeremy, very quick cars indeed. And they're doing times that not so very long ago would have been considered pretty good for GT3. Lovely getaway from Riley Dickinson. Yeah. Just timed it perfectly right, and he just got that crucial 1-2 cars length as he went across the paint at the stripe.
That's right, and he behind him, Tom Sargent kind of moved across half a lane, didn't he? And that has been noted by the officials, but he's got a warning for a false start lining up on the wrong side, so he's a little bit lucky there. I think, to get away with it. But again, Riley Dickinson made a big jump, and he kind of moved across a little bit as well to get towards the outside for the sweeping left-hand turn at turn 1.
It's Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the IMSA broadcast booth. 5 minutes into our live free coverage of Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America. And Riley Dickinson is clearing off another 0.3 of a second in the first quarter of the lap. But what a battle going on behind for second, third, and the rest of the positions. Tom Sargent, Jason Hart, then a little gap back to Varun Choksi, Jimmy Libra, Will Martin, TJ Fisher, all in there. And as soon as they start to battle, those gaps close down. And that's why Riley Dickinson wanted to be well away from what was going on behind him. Sargent announcing his intentions in the test last week with the new Australian team, making their base in Mooresville. And, well, there's plenty of racing up there, isn't there? Let's be honest. McElrea Racing, run by a New Zealander, but very much an Australian, based in Australia team. They've done very well in the equivalent championship down in Australia, which supports the supercars, the V8 supercars. And a little bit of a bump and run on the final corner. The two red, white and black cars being joined very quickly by the JDX machine. That's the black and gold. It's the 13, Choksi, Libra, Martin, all coming through turn 1 right now. Jimmy Libra wants through there, and he's prepared to try some different lines. Goes down the inside at turn number 3. His problem is he's trying to attack and defend at the same time. And if you've ever played Risk, you know you'll never hold Kamchatka, never. And that is the problem at the moment for Jimmy Libra. He's fighting a battle on too many fronts at the moment. The bright yellow and black car ahead of them is Jason Hart, then Tom Sargent and Riley Dickinson pulling away in the distance. And this little trio are slowing each other up here. It's going to be side by side. And the two red, white and black cars are making a big hole in the air for the JDX machine behind the black and gold as they go down into turn 10. And it is the pass made. Jimmy Libra has got through. That is the 74 car, I think, that's squeezed ahead. Difficult to see them in the evening sunshine as they go through. Yes, it is. That's Jimmy's car. Slight difference to the side panels on those machines. And then following those guys through is TJ Fisher, Thomas McVer, Dan Clark, former champ car driver in the number 64. Not his age, by the way. He's asked us to make that absolutely clear. He might be Dan Clark, Daddy Dan Clark, rather than Speedy Dan Clark now. But he's still got a lot of racing left in him, and he's loving this, Jeremy, isn't he?
He is, and he had a great run this morning. Really impressive run for Dan. He finished well up the order in the 5th position, having made up several positions during that race. So it's a really good debut for him in this new to him series.
Had one try out last year in a triple header at the Porsche Sports Car Together Festival. Oh, spin of the final corner, and that was the car that did so well.
It's Scott Noble.
It's Scott Noble, the man who's leading AM, and John Getz was right there as well. This was the AM battle, and I think that car's going nowhere. That's John Getz coming into the pits with a crippled car with the right front radiator gone on that machine. Oh, Kvame's gone through to take the lead. Scott Noble has done absolutely nothing wrong all weekend. He's been brilliant, but that was a little mistake on the bumps, and that's going to take him out of contention in this race. It'll be no point. He goes across the coolant, and that's big damage to the right front of John Getz's car.
Yeah, that's really a shame for John.
And
You got fastest lap this morning, a new lap record for the AM class, and a really good lap it was by him.
I don't think there was much he could do, Jeremy,
no, nothing
to be honest.
At all. Absolutely nothing.
With the blue Scott Noble car, I really like that Scott Noble colour scheme. And that car spinning across his nose, you are absolutely committed at that point. I've spoken to several drivers that said even getting into the pit lane there, trying to tighten your line. So it was just the bump right in front of the bright pink car, and then John Getz comes on the scene, and, well, that was a shame. That was a big shame. Absolutely nowhere for John to go. He couldn't cut back onto the right-hand side, the inside of the corner. That's a quick exit from that corner, Jeremy. And John just about getting out of everybody's way, just kept his momentum going enough to get him to the pit lane. Poor Scott, just a passenger at that point. Spun the car across and couldn't get it stopped. Looks like right rear damage to his car as well. So that was the pole sitter and winner from this morning, and that's going to be a big dent in his championship hopes. You cannot afford to non-finish in this championship.
Well, you know, I saw Mark Kawami after that first race. He was saying, "Look, yeah, we finished second. Actually, he was ahead of John Getz in the race, but he said, look, this is a long championship. Yeah, I know that. I learned that last year, so he wasn't too worried about being beaten by Scott Noble, and now you see why, because now he's got a pretty handy lead in that AM class. Up to second position now is Bob Mueller, just of Jeff Myshak in third. But the two top contenders are out of this race already in Scott Noble and John Getz.
I mean, it's amazing how quickly the championship can turn here. Down at the far end of the circuit, and Jimmy Libra playing defense at the moment. He cleared Varanchowski, but he's got the number 9 car behind him. That's the black and gold car of Will Martin. And they're coming out through Tower Turn now. That's a little group that goes down from the 74 of Jimmy Libra, I think down to Thomas Merrill, actually, who's just on the outskirts of the top 10, and Michael McCarthy's not too far away either, through the Jean de Bian bends. First of the red, white and black cars is Jimmy Libra.
Yeah, so he's made that pass, but he hasn't pulled away, has he?
No,
but Scott Martin now has got past Varanchowski.
Correct, so he's followed him through. Yeah,
so Will Martin, who finished second, a really good second this morning. He started in the third position this morning, made the pass, started fourth, and made the pass early on for third position, and then got past the number 9 car a little bit later on.
So 27.5 minutes of the 40 still to go. Plenty of action already. This battle pack of, it's getting on for 6 Porsches now. Down the inside, Dan Clark. Oh, lovely manoeuvre. TJ Fisher had nowhere to go. Dan Clark got the nose in that bright highlighter, yellow, green and white car, the number 64. And basically he left absolutely no doubt at all to TJ that the car was there. I mean, it's bright enough, in fairness, you should be able to see it, but absolutely no doubt left at all that he was coming through. Dan Clark not running on the bright yellow wheels that he ran this morning. Boo, hiss, we like those. Running black rims for this set of Michelin tyres. Now down into turn 10, and another great dive down the inside. This time it's the
number 13.
Isn't that amazing? That's Varanchowski, who was passed by Jimmy Libra, a couple of laps ago. Yeah. But Jimmy's lost a bit of pace here.
He has. He's been passed by Will Martin on that last lap, and now he's fallen behind Varanchowski as well. So maybe he burned off those. Maybe I'm not sure whether he was running a fresh set of tyres or not. But he certainly doesn't have the pace that he had early on in this race.
No, not at all. And you've got it, or maybe he just, look, it's warm out there, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Track temperature 23 Fahrenheit, and that in the centigrade scale is 73. he get offline here. Maybe with that battling, he got offline and got some clag on his tyres. And that might have cost him for a lap or two. Now, they will clean back up again once he starts leaning on them, but he's lost a couple of places now, and he has to do it all again from that 6th position. Will Martin, having made his escape in the JDX Racing black and gold car. So Riley Dickinson by 2 seconds from Tom Sargent in second. For McElrea Racing, he's got about 2 seconds as well on Jason Hart, having another cracking run for MDK Motorsports. Jason will want to sit down after this and watch these 2 races back over and over again. What a great start to the season for the number 20 team. Then JDX, that black and gold car, then Vorontsovsky and Jimmy Libra, 13 and 74, the 2 red, white and black cars. Behind that, it's Dan Clark, the first of the 2 very brightly coloured machines. 2 running in close proximity there, down at turn 7 for Dan Clark. He's got ahead of TJ Fisher and the 762 Motorsports. Then Tom Netver for McElrea, and the top 10 made up by Thomas Merrill. In Pro-Am, Marco Cironi leads by half a second. ACI from Kelly Moss, Efren Castro, and Kelly Moss's Alan Metney a little bit further back. And in the AM category, Mark Wami, after that incident at turn 17 that took out undoubtedly 2 of the championship contenders, leads handsomely now by a couple of 3 seconds, with cars between himself and Bob Mueller in second place for Goldcrest. That's a great run for Bob if he can hold on to that. And Jeffrey Myshak is another couple of 3 seconds further back down the road. That's the classes. Remember, the cars are identical. It goes on the ages of the driver. Although some of the drivers have decided they want to be higher up than they could be. Basically, the pros are the younger drivers, the Pro-Ams are the middling aged drivers, and the AMs are the ones who have the most experience of life, even if it's not the most experience of racing. Cars absolutely identical. Coming through to half distance now. Next time around, it's going to be pretty much spot on. 20 minutes to go. 2:03.426, the fastest lap of the race. That is in the hands of Riley Dickinson at the moment. He was perfect in the first race. Paul, fastest lap and the win. His teammate having a cracking battle at the moment, Michael McCarthy, with Alex Sedgwick coming through there for JTX Racing in the red, white and black machine. No, can't get it done at turn 4. Alex, one of a number of drivers who've come across the Atlantic from the UK to try their hand and ply their trade here. Dickinson, then the gap back to Tom Sargent in that very distinctive blue, metallic blue, light blue and white McElrea Racing colours. Third, the yellow and black of MDK Motorsports, and the number 20 of Jason Hart. Those 3, well, not quite equidistant, but not far away. But they've pulled away now by a good 5 seconds from Will Martin, who's been holding off Vorontsovsky for 4th and 5th. There's about a second and a half between them. Jimmy Libra still right on the tailpipes of the similarly coloured right car ahead of his MDK Motorsports machine. And I've got a feeling that one's going to go up the line as it did. And Dan Clark has caught them now. So Dan Clark paying the price for perhaps not the best qualifying, but is up into 7th and has got 5th position in sight. So there's going to be a 3-car battle there for a top 5 finish. So
yeah, he's got experience in the other older cars from last year in the Sprint Cup series, but he's really taken to these Carrera Cup cars. As Dan Clark, he made up a lot of ground this morning, making up ground again this afternoon. TJ Fisher still running well there. Thomas Merrill just made a position at the expense of Thomas Neveu last time around. And you see, as you say, Alex Sedgwick right there as well. But the guy who's going faster and faster with each successive lap is Jason Hart. He's over the course of the last 4 laps, he's closed in a half a second on Tom Sargent, who's running in 2nd place. So Jason Hart once again improved his time on that last lap, a 2:03.7.
Right, we are now down to half distance. I love the way these races sort of stretch out and then Concertina back together again. There's little battle packs all around the circuit. A moment or two ago, Jimmy Lieber was right up the tailpipes of Varun Chotsky, but now, because he's defending against Dan Clark, he's dropped, what, 6, 7, 10 cars lengths behind, and he's not on the ideal racing line. Had to defend to the right-hand side of turn 7. Coming through behind there, Thomas Merrill for Nola Sport, having a go at TJ Fisher as well. That's the TJ Fisher in 8th, and the Nola Sport is the other Porsche with the black bonnet and the yellow sides. Easy one to spot again with those highlighter colours. Then another couple of cars further back is Thomas Neveu from McElrea Racing. So this is all closing up again nicely, and at the bottom end of the top 10 we're going to have another cracking scrap. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, public service announcement, Riley Dickinson is pulling away. Yes. 3.1 seconds. Look at that lap time last time around. A 2:03.426 is his best. A 2:03.7 last time around was pretty much 3/10 quicker than Tom Sargent, and the gap's over 3 seconds now.
But it was matched by Jason Hart in 3rd position to 2:03.7 also for Jason Hart. So he's learned a lot, I think, in that first race. He's looking after his tyres now, and maybe he can challenge Tom Sargent in the closing stages.
It's down to 1.3 seconds for 2nd position. Then the big gap, but Will Martin now released from having to worry about what's behind him. He's just done his fastest lap of the race at 2:03.9, 2:03.4 this time around. So we'll keep an eye on that gap. It was 5.8 or 9, I think. It's about 5.6 now. Let's keep an eye on that, and it's a second between Jason Hart and Tom Sargent if they've gone across the line this time. Another 2/10 taken out of the 2nd place gap to 3rd. McElrea versus MDK Motorsports. Meantime, Nola Sports and Thomas Merrill and Michael McCarthy for Kelly Moss in the green and white car having a cracking scrap. Turn 17, as ever, providing the usual challenge for quite a lot of cars, including Dan Clark and Tom Merrill. Tom went a little bit wide there. I think that's where Dan Clark went by him a lap or two ago. The 64 getting ahead of the 47. Dan Clark for Nola Sport, Rice Nichols, Thomas Merrill for Nola Sport. That's why they are similar in their brightly coloured hindquarters. The cars, that is, not the drivers. 18 minutes to go, Jeremy. This one's heating up nicely for certainly for 2nd place. We've got a good battle for 6th, 7th, with Dan Clark closing in. He's right with Jimmy Lieber now in the MDK Motorsports car. Jimmy will have to look behind him in a spin for the number 82 Marco Cironi ACI Motorsports. That's the leader in his car. Oh, he got help. He got help from behind from Efren Castro, running in a slightly different colourway than we were used to seeing him last year, the black and red car this time. Now that could be a penalty for Castro, but it's dropped Cironi well down. Metney's gone through as well, and I think Jeff Mosing might have gone through as well to 3rd position. We'll see when they come across the line. He had about 4 seconds. No, there's Metney right behind him. So Castro has lost a position to, Cironi has lost 2 positions, one to Efren Castro, who helped him off the track, and Alan Metney is sitting in behind him. So that was all a bit unnecessary.
No,
Too wide again.
They've been very close together all the way through this race. That pair, Marco Cironi and Efren Castro, battling for that position. We really just saw the end of it, didn't we? We didn't see who was braking where.
Thomas Neveu for McElrea Racing in the 24, the bright colour car. Alex Sedgwick right in there. He's trying every way to get through in the number 98 car, right up on the curb, and I'm not sure that's really helped him coming out of turn number 5. He's going to get eaten up on the way down to the hairpin. Yes, he's pulled across to the right really early. The number 78 car that's right in there is Ryan Yardley for Top Racing. He tries to go around the outside, just making up 1 position, I think, there, as he's gone by Sean Varwig. No, that was how they went across the line. Oh my goodness, where do you look next? This is outstanding stuff. Midfield, back of field, front of class, back of class, it does not matter. There's racing going on everywhere you look, except for 1st and 2nd, where Riley Dickinson is now 4 seconds ahead of the field, and Tom Sargent has, for the moment, stemmed the tide of Jason Hart coming back towards him. It's just out towards 1 second. Again, that gap between the number 17 in second and Tom Sargent doing nicely there for McElrea Racing, and the number 20 in third, which is MDK Motorsports. Will Martin has 3 seconds on Varun Chotsky, and then that battle between Jimmy Libra and Dan Clark, they're still locked together for 6th and 7th.
Yeah, that's one of the best battles in the race at the moment, isn't it? Of which there are plenty, but that's a good one, because Dan Clark has certainly shown good speed here, and Jimmy Libra, having shown really good pace early on, then slipped back a little bit. He's under pressure still now from Dan Clark, and a lot of blue sector times here. People setting their fastest sector times of the race. A new best lap of the race, personally, for Will Martin in that 4th place car.
That incident at turn 10 between Efren Castro, who rather ushered Marco Cirone off the circuit. It appeared to us, we didn't see the whole incident, but Cirone dropping down from the lead to 5th in Pro-Am. Efren Castro has gone through, and there's another big incident. This is turn 16, Bob Mueller and the other car involved there, so it's the 68 and the 28, and that's turn 16.
Yeah, there was a couple of cars in between them, I thought.
Well, is that a loss? Yeah, turn 16 spin right in front of Matt Holcomb, and then very, very unlucky indeed, as Chris Bellomo in the 68 MDK car came through with absolutely nowhere to go. And down at the hairpin there's been trouble as well. Oh my goodness. This could be significant as well. It's the McCann Racing car, and oh no, it's the car behind. It's the Deluxe sponsored machine that gets into the back. And that looked like, well, difficult to see in the evening sun. I'll give you that in a moment, but that car hasn't moved. I think it's the 4 car. Yes, it is. Elias De La Torre, JDX. Oh, unlucky for him. He got bumped out by Efren Castro in the first race.
No, the other way around.
Sorry, he bumped out Efren Castro the last race around. Into the pit lane then for one of the many cars involved in those incidents. Bob Mueller, Chris Bellomo into the pits, and earlier on we saw Scott Noble and John Getz, 2 of the AM Class Championship contenders, come together at turn 17. Now, is that Dan Clark through? I think it is. Dan Clark, I think, has got past Jimmy Libra as they go across the line in front of us. Has he sneaked through? If not, he's very close, though. He's still half a second behind. Very tight indeed, that battle. Still just half a second between them. And that's for 6th and 7th position. So much going on that race control can hardly keep up with it. Of those incidents, a number of cars continued, including Matt Holcomb. He just about got pulled up, I think. The 68 Chris Bellomo did come into the pits. That was the turn 16 accident, and so did Bob Mueller. Those 2 came into the pits. Matt Holcomb got the mystery machine, pulled up in time, and has continued.
Yeah, that was a really good avoidance by him. One of the things I'm keeping an eye on here now also is the battle for Pro-Am. Efren Castro, he had a pretty handy lead after that incident he had with Marco Cirone, but Alan Metni has closed right in on him for that lead in Pro-Am, and 19th and 20th overall. And
that is under investigation, Jeremy. That could be a time penalty at the end of the race now. That's new for this year in the Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America.
Yes, indeed so. They've given themselves the option, the stewards, they're giving a 10-second penalty, which will be added to a driver's time after the race. Or as soon as it crosses the checkered flag, in actual fact, it'll show up.
Efren Castro,
with a bit like we'd be informed of that beforehand.
Yes, Efren Castro in the blue and red car, and he is being closed in on by Alan Metni as Jeremy suggested in the GT Silver iFly number 99 machine from Kelly Moss Racing. They are nominally teammates. They are both Kelly Moss run cars. Teammates might be slightly over-egging the pudding because all of these drivers are driving through themselves. The cars are prepped by the same team. They are under the same awning. Huge slide by Metney going into 17 has cost him some time there. But ultimately, it is not like two cars in an IMSA team or two cars in a Formula One team, Jeremy. This is not team orders. This will be fighting for points, every man, woman for themselves.
True that, but certainly a goodly respect, particularly amongst the Pro-Am drivers, perhaps less so amongst the some of the pros perhaps, but generally the Pro-Ams are pretty respectful of each other. Having said that, of course, Evan Castro, I think he'll be, if it was indeed he who caused Marco Troni to go straight on there at the hairpin, he'll be a little bit embarrassed, and he'll certainly go and apologise to Marco Troni afterwards if that was the case.
Debris on the track just after the Corvette Bridge, also down at turn 7. Thank you to all of you who've tweeted in at IMSA Radio. It's just about off the racing line at that debris. It looks like there might be a tail light assembly. It's quite a lot of money they've sitting there down there for a 992. It is just off the racing line. Huge slide. Who was that going through there? That was a fantastic slide. I think that was Elias De La Torre for JTX. Yes, it was. Who was giving the Michelins a little bit of extra work. Let's check back in with the leader. Oblivious to what is going on behind him. Riley Dickinson, interviewed after the race, said, well, it was a pretty boring race, really. I just drove around. I'm sorry it wasn't more exciting for the fans. Riley, you have no idea, my friend, no idea what's been going on behind you as he streaks away from the setting sun down turn 1. Beautiful evening light here. The photographers will be loving this. Every race this season of the 16, this is round 2, 16 rounds to come, and every race this season will be live for you wherever you are across the world, here in the US or further afield. No need to subscribe. Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America via IMSA.tv, the Porsche Motorsport channel, and of course the video player at IMSARadio.com. Great to have your company wherever you are. Dan Clark does make the pass. The tiniest of mistakes coming through turn 4 into 5, and Dan Clark moves up into 6th position. Now, it's under 2 seconds between himself and Veron Chotsky for 5th place. In fact, there is another red, white and black Porsche, and that's the car that Dan can see. His teammate Thomas Merrill has fought his way past Kelly Moss's Michael McCarthy and 762 Motorsports TJ Fisher, and is following him through. So Nola Sport, Rice Nichols and Dan Clark now up to the 6th. Thomas Merrill still in 8th position, but with Jimmy Libra now in his sights. And Dan Clark, has he got tyres left? Has he got performance left in the last 7.5 minutes to bridge that 1 second gap?
We will find out, because certainly he'd battled long and hard as Thomas Merrill strained 2 wheels off the exit.
Look at the size
turn
of that
13. That's going to
trench.
cost him a lot of momentum.
Yes, and he's straight away back into the clutches of TJ Fisher in the green and white car. That's the team car to the leader, Riley Dickinson, another Racing for Children's car, but that one with the lilac flashes on the front of the car. And that is, there is a huge trench that has been dug out through the course of the day, going off there. Oh, and he did drop right down into it. Yeah. I think he did the right thing in straightening up there, Jeremy, and going all the way down until he could get back on. It's not the going off there, it's the coming back on. The inside shoulder of the Michelin tyre taking a heck of a lot of damage if you drop a wheel over there and then try to come straight back. Leader coming through traffic and dealing with it very nicely. 4 seconds the gap, and losing virtually nothing there. I have a suspicion that we're going to have some post-race penalties here. Castro and the Marco Cironi under review. I think we already mentioned the Elias De La Torre and 37 Sabra Cook. No, we didn't. Sabra Cook and Elias De La Torre have come together, and that's been looked at as well. take a deep breath.
Yeah,
6 minutes to go. This is wonderful stuff. I thought last season was good, but if this is setting the benchmark for season 3 of the Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America, are we in for a cracking year? Yes, we are. Dickinson by 4 seconds. Tom Sargent holding on to second quite comfortably now from the 3rd place. Jason Hart still about 1.5 seconds, but hasn't been able to close the gap. They're round about between 1/10 and 1/10.5 either way in the last couple of laps. 2:04.4 to 2:04.5. Sargent to Hart last time. The time before that was reversed. Will Martin at 2:03.9. Varenchotsky 2:04.8. Dan Clark 2:04.7, but now being able to get a bit of clear air on the front of his car. Meantime, the number 43, that's Mark Kwame leading in arm and off at turn 16. That's one of the pro cars, the number 78 of Ryan Yardley.
Yep.
Top Racing. TCS on the side of that car. Now again, I suspect he's... Oh no, that was help. That was a considerable amount of help, and that was the number 2 of Sean Varwig from Kelly Moss. He's going to get a penalty for that as well, I would say. It's not just the touch, it's the continued pressure applied that the race control will be looking at there. Bit of rally crossing. And into the pits for Sean Varwig before that's even been looked at, so he may have done himself some damage on the front end of his car. There are radiators there on the outside edges of the 992. All the performance versions of Porsche street cars get some grills across there to stop stone chips going in. Zunsport do some very good ones for aftermarket as well. Oh, that bit of debris picked up at turn number 7, and that was in that debris getting crushed a little bit as the number 24 of Dan Clark has been caught. Has caught rather, and passed Varenchotsky for 5th position. We asked the question, we posed the question, could he catch up the 1 second? Answer, yes. And he has gone through. Now you see, I say that. Was that a lapped car that he went by? Let me check. No, I think he's gone past him. 3 minutes to go. Dan Clark did his fastest lap of the race last time around, 2:03.936. Coming to the line for the penultimate time is Riley Dickinson. We haven't seen much of him again, Jeremy, which not good for his sponsors, but it's great news for him in the championship because once again, he's into traffic, but he has totally and utterly dominated this field.
The entire, well, I was going to say weekend, but it's midweek, isn't it?
The entire meeting.
Yeah, he was fastest in both practice sessions. He was fastest in the qualifying sessions, had pole for both races. Well, there's a...
That was that's Dan 13.
Yeah, that's Dan Clark, isn't it? Trying to get past Jimmy Libre. I think.
Varenchotsky, actually. It was the 13 car.
Okay, big pardon.
So the pass was made. Albeit with a little bit of bump and run.
Yep.
And another incident, Sean Varwig, and the incident we saw earlier on with Ryan Yardley, that's going to be looked at as well after the race. Race control could be in for a bit of overtime tonight. With I think 4 or 5 now incidents to be looked at, penalties possibly coming after the race. Going back, however, I will not be deflected from Riley Dickinson. The meeting has been his. We might as well call this the Riley Dickinson tribute meet because it's been absolutely superb. From qualifying yesterday, he has dominated, Jeremy.
He has, and no one's come close to challenging his dominance this weekend, and that's exactly how he wanted to start this season. Meanwhile, in Pro-Am, the first two champions of the first 2 years of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America are going at it now. It's Efren Castro who leads the way, but Alan Metni is still right there with him. The two Kelly Moss cars out in front of the field by about 5 seconds now. They pulled out over Jeff Mosing in third position as Riley Dickinson sees the white flag.
And goes across from our left to right. We're just on the start-finish line in the IMSA Global Broadcast Centre. Castro and Metni together coming out of turn 16 onto the Ullman Straight. Sunshine right in your face. Now this is a tough enough corner down at turn 17. Now you know why it's called Sunset. You are driving directly west. It's tough enough to pick your turning and your braking point there, and Castro had 2 goes at turning in there. His red and blue machine just struggling a little bit. The back end stepping out. Oh my goodness me, he's on the ragged edge of adhesion there. Does Metni sense an opportunity? How much performance have they got left as they get the white flag? And behind them there's another 2-car battle. That's Moise Uretsky and Marco Cerrone. Check that, it's Jeff Mosing and Moise Uretsky for the final spot on the podium in Pro-Am. In Am, Mark Kwame took advantage of that coming together of 2 of his championship competition early on, Scott Noble and John Getz. And he is dominating the Am category. It looks like Jeff Myshak will come in second, and Grady Willingham has fought his way up to third for Goldcrest. It's a good one for him as well. Got to be there to take the opportunity when things go wrong for other drivers. Meantime, at the bottom end of the top 10, Thomas Merrill, Mike McCarthy and TJ Fisher are still having a good scrap. We'll see them across the line in a moment. Well, we've run out of superlatives for this, but this has been a perfect weekend. From when he rolled off the truck at race week, this event has been simply perfect for Riley Dickinson. 2 poles, 2 fastest laps in the race and 2 victories. The championship leader crosses the line and cements his lead in the championship. Kelly Moss and Riley Dickinson are the class of the first 2 rounds of the Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup here at Sebring. The battle continues in Pro-Am. They've got a third of a lap to go. Now, Alan Metni in the GT Silver car. Has he got anything left? He's getting closer. He's in the draft here. Castro just pulled slightly to the right-hand side to cover any inside move. Now into turn 17 for the final time. And again, just slightly conservative maybe. Here comes Metni trying the tighter line. He's going to have to get on the throttle. He's going to be alongside, is he? As he comes through, he's right behind him. Can't get the drive out the final corner. And Pro-Am goes to Efren Castro for Kelly Moss. His Kelly Moss teammate Alan Metni comes second. 2 second places for Metni over the weekend. Jeff Mosing comes through third for Top Racing. And Moise Uretsky follows in his wheel tracks. Marco Cerrone, having been bumped out of the lead, finishes 5th. That might not be over quite yet. There could be penalties coming. Mark Kwame coming through to win the Am category. He'll take the points. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Second place in Am category. We're just waiting for Goldcrest Jeffrey Myshak to come through across the line. And there he goes. Jeff Myshak second in Am, and Grady Willingham will be not the next car across the line, but the one after that for Goldcrest Motorsports. He had about a second on Michael Merritt before he started the last lap. And let's just complete the podium there. Here they come. Christian Cole with Grady Willingham right behind him, the checkered flag, the VP Racing checkered flag. There goes the white and black car, and Willingham has been confirmed as third position. Wow, wow, yeah. Wow. Riley Dickinson, you have done some good work this weekend along with Kelly Moss Racing, and that is a comprehensive championship lead, well deserved.
Yeah, maximum 56 points from the day, 25 each for the 2 wins, 2 points for each of the 2 pole positions and 2 fastest laps worth a point as well. So a brilliant day for Riley Dickinson. A really good day also, you have to say, for Tom Sargent for McElrea Racing, brand new to this series and to North America for Tom Sargent's case. He's been here on a holiday a couple of times in the past, been to Disneyland and what have you, but this is his first race here at first race day. It's 2 second-place finishes for him. Will Martin from England and Jason Hart, they will split 3rd and 4th in each of the 2 races, and then 5th in both of them was Dan Clark, and 6th in both races has been Varun Choksi.
Well, if that is the standard for the rest of the season, we are in for an absolute treat. The Porsche Deluxe Carrera Cup North America getting underway with 2 cracking races here at Sebring International. Scott Noble going out after winning the AM class in the first time around, but good battles right the way through the field. But the domination of Riley Dickinson is the headline. Behind that, the action was fast and furious. Every race live and free for you across the year. Make sure you join us. Were you not entertained? Thanks to Jeremy Shaw, I'm John Hindhaugh. Bye-bye.